All right, everyone, welcome to our info session for our summer camps here at the Plattsburgh YMCA. We're glad every one of you can make it and participate in the live portion of this video. We will be recording this and posting this on our social media sites, so make sure to keep an eye out for that and share that with those who might be interested. I'm going to turn this right over to Justin, our CEO of Plattsburgh. Justin, hi.
There we go. Perfect. All right, everybody. Welcome and thank you. It's great. We got people chiming in as I speak here. We've got about 50 people on the line. I want to thank you for all taking the time to visit with us today. We've never done a town hall like this, but such is the way of the world now. We're going to do as much as we can to communicate with you, not only now, but also obviously throughout the summer. I want to share with you, camp is such an important part of my life. I went to camp as a kid, started at YMCA camp when I was 8 years old, and quite honestly, never looked back. It was an amazing experience. Some of my fondest memories with both staff and some of my best friends today I met at summer camp. So when we were told that we were able to run camps this summer, the entire staff was so excited. And we are so excited to provide a really great program for you this summer. Yes, it's going to look a little bit different, but we believe that we're going to be able to really provide a safe and fun experience. We've been planning summer camp since camp ended last year. And obviously when we had to close our facilities, we kept planning. We needed to make some adjustments, and our staff got together and really put their brains together and make sure that we were able to run a program that seemed safe to us at the time before we got any guidance from Department of Health or the CDC. I'm happy to say that the program that we put in place was right on the mark with what the CDC and the DOH has told us that we need to do for our programs. So kudos to our staff for thinking ahead and really being proactive and making this work. And remember, all of the guidelines that we're talking about here today have been taken from DOH, from CDC, and we also have a network of about 2,500 YMCAs around the country, and a lot of which have already opened their doors. So we're able to take some ideas and thoughts from them and put them into place and into practice here. So that's been a huge benefit to us. So with that, we are going to talk a little bit about safety, where the locations of the camps are today. We're going to talk about drop-off and pickup and a couple of other loose ends. And of course, if you have questions, put them in the chat below. And throughout this presentation, we will be able to answer those questions. And any ones we can't get to, we will make sure that we get back to you personally with those answers. With that, I'll go back to Brandon. Actually, no, we're going to go right to my Director of Operations, Chris Tate. A lot of you, I'm sure, have gotten emails from her. She's been working tirelessly to ensure that we get the right information out to you. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Just have a few things that I would like to review with you all as we move forward. And the first part of that is just kind of a little overview of all of the camps that we are offering for this summer. Brandon, if you can just proceed those slides for me real quick. Just a couple more there, Brandon. So I can start off without those slides. The two camps that I wanted to start off with would be Camp Jericho and Camp Tapawingo. Camp Jericho, I know lots of folks are familiar with. That is our nature camp located in Altona. And then we also have Camp Tapawingo this year, which is a new partnership for us with the Turner Foundation, and it is located just past Pointe Rush Park. Both of these camps are for children 5 to 13 years of age, and Their normal day is going to be starting at 8:15 in the morning and ending at about 4:15. Both programs are having the same hours of before and after care available. Morning care is starting at 7 a.m. and then we have aftercare available until 5:30. These are both just beautiful facilities, and honestly, as an adult, and a pleasure to be able to go and hang for the day at. Jericho and Tapawingo is just kind of the place to be. I'd like to go and hide there for the day. These are great facilities. You can do pretty much anything there and be one with or be a part of nature. There's swimming at both of these locations. If it's at Camp Jericho, it's on Lake Kiwanis. At Camp Tapawingo, it's right there on Lake Champlain. They have a really pretty little beach there, very calm water. Jericho has a large play field or fun field for sports, water play, anything that you could think of as far as games, and the same as at Tapawingo. I think these two camps are very similar. It's just Tapawingo is maybe just a little bit smaller in scale. The one difference I can think of between the two is Camp Jericho has the option for hiking, where Tapawingo is more of a flatter property, but you by all means can scavenge and adventure throughout the facility in the many little cabins and nooks that they have. So these are really great places, and we're super excited to partner with the Turner Foundation to operate Camp Tapawingo this year. So those are the two camps that we kind of have in those outlying areas, and then we also have 3 camps located in Plattsburgh City this year. The first camp that we have is our Y Kids program, which is for our preschool age children. Those are our 3 to 5-year-old kiddos. In years past, this program had been operated outside or at the Y, as well as our junior camp program. That's for our 5 to 8-year-old group. Both of those programs were operated out of the Y. However, we have a new partnership this year as well with the city, and we're operating these programs at the rec center on the Oval. We have access to just a really great facility there, and indoor spaces, as well as this ginormous field for each of our camps to be there. And then another new thing for us this summer is Camp Quest. With the changes at Camp Jericho this year and not being able to provide transportation, we were really concerned about families of that 9 to 13-year-old age group that didn't have another option for childcare. So we really pulled together and said, we've got to just come up with something and make it great for families and give folks another option as far as childcare. So we not only created the Tapawingo option with that partnership, but also created an additional camp for those 9 to 13-year-olds called Camp Quest. And that will be operated out at the rec center as well in the Oval. And each of these 3 camps have the same operating hours, 9 to 4 each day, Monday through Friday, and then also the same hours for morning and afternoon care. So before care starting at 7, so we're getting a good 2 hours of early care for folks who really need it. And then the after care of camp is going till about 5:15, so another hour and 15 minutes on top of that camp time. So we're excited about these camps. Excited about the opportunities that we're able to offer to our families. It's kind of an interesting time to be able to expand our menu and offerings given the time that we're in. And then the next thing that I wanted to go over with you is just a little bit of our safety procedures, or things that are sort of new going into this camp season. The first of which I know that there's been quite a few questions on for families that I've spoken with, and I know other staff as well. And that's really kind of regarding our group sizes. So in past seasons with camp, our group size of campers, and in following the regulations of the Department of Health, have been much larger. But this year we've tapered those group sizes down. So each group that we have at camp is no more than 10 children. And that helps us do that social distancing piece that's required. Another thing is hourly hand washing and sanitizing. So that might seem a bit extreme to folks, but really it's something that we've put into practice, and it's been above the requirement or above the standards that's been set for us. And we've been doing it these last 12 weeks or so in operation of our Schools Out program. We continue to wash hands diligently before and after eating, when they get their hands dirty after doing a great arts and crafts project or going outside and playing. But we also said, you know what? We're just going to wash hands on the hour every hour. And it's been extremely effective. And we said, let's carry that on into our camp. It's not required of us, but we're doing it because of the importance of that, and we feel that it's very effective. The next one is number 3, which is adapting our activities to comply with social distancing guidance. And really for me, the simple way of putting that, I think, is just to say that it's getting creative. I think a lot of the questions that I've received personally has been, well, how are you going to play this game and be socially distant, or how are you going to do this activity? And I really think it's just been a really fun time for us in a strange way, but for us to get creative and think a little bit outside of the box. I would say the last 12 weeks has really been like that, and I've personally loved it. So an example I would give there would be playing a game of tag. You know, a typical game of tag is on a large field and you're running and chasing each other and tagging each other with hands. Well, this year we just got to flip our brain a little bit and go, we're not going to not play tag. We can play tag. Let's play tag where the kids' hands are now pool noodles. They're not only maintaining distance from each other, but they're tagging each other with a pool noodle instead of their hands. So I think, actually, I kind of find that a little bit more fun. I kind of want to play myself. So it's just really flipping the thing and getting a little bit creative. So it's just adapting those activities that we're already doing. Number 4 is talking a little bit about health checks that we'll be completing with the children at drop-off time in the morning. So as children are coming into camp, they'll remain in their vehicle, and one of our staff will be designated to come over each morning to the vehicle and do a real quick temperature check on your child or your children to make sure that they're healthy and able to be a participant in camp for that day. If a child was running a temperature, we would unfortunately have to turn them away, but that's one of those procedures that we have in place to make sure that we can keep everyone healthy, kids and families, as well as our staff. Number 5 is talking a little bit about face masks. I know this one has kind of been a hot topic, or just something folks have not been super sure about. As far as children are concerned, it is not a requirement for them to wear face masks while they are participating in camp. However, families are more than welcome to. It's their choice if they would like to send their child with a mask. The only thing that we would ask on that is to send a second one for the day in case it gets a little sweaty or dirty. They have another one to change into. And then the other note with that would be just to make sure you have it labeled with their name on it. I have a few face masks that I am particularly fond of, a Darth Vader and some of my favorite sport teams, and I would be kind of devastated if I lost them in a really weird way about a face mask. Who knew? Weird accessories. So that would be the tip on that one. And then as far as staff, we will be having our staff wear masks whenever they can. You will see staff in face masks most of the time, but if they're in the water, obviously they're not going to be able to wear a mask. And I would think that when they're in a hike out at Camp Jericho, they're going to need to take a few minutes to pull one down and take a good breath. But for the most part, they're going to be wearing those masks to keep your children healthy. Number 6, I touched on that one already, and then the last one would be the cleaning and disinfection of supplies between group usage. And so we've always done disinfection and cleaning of things, but we've just kind of stepped up our game and the level of our cleaning going into this next season of camp. And not only is it something that I think we're going to be practicing this year, being a season of where we've been affected by a health concern or a pandemic in our community, but these are things that we're going to take with us going into future camp seasons, Camp 2021 and 2022 as well. So giving kind of an example of this, the way that we envision camp, if I were thinking of Camp Tapawingo or Jericho, each group, there can be multiple groups. At Tapawingo, there would be 5 groups of kids, all 10 kids in a group, and they're kind of in a circle. If you envision kind of a clock, and each group has a starting point on the clock, and they do their first activity, and then for an hour, and then they move on to their next activity. Well, before they move on to this next activity, whatever materials they used here, they're going to be disinfecting before the next group comes on over. And one of the things I would think of is if Group A at the top of the clock has just finished playing a good game of disc golf, then they're going to take all of their discs and get those all nice sprayed down and disinfected before moving on to their next group. And when they get there, the next materials that they want to use are going to be clean for them. And that will be our staff wiping down those materials, to be clear as well. I think that those are all that I have for now, and then I will pass that back on to Justin to talk with you a little bit more.
Great, thank you, Chris. Yeah, and if everybody's been keeping up, obviously, with how COVID is spread, we believe that the sanitation and the cleaning of these areas are obviously going to cut down on any of that spread. And just having these conversations with your kids about how camp is going to run, so that they can be, weary of touching hand to mouth and these kind of things. Brandon, if you can advance that. Okay, so pick up and drop off procedures. I'm going to go through this very quickly. It's pretty straightforward. Each camp is going to have a designated area that cars will come into. So at Camp Jericho, this picture here is actually the road at Jericho. We've widened the road at Jericho now so that two cars can actually pass side by side, no problem. That was, an interesting dilemma that we ran into several weeks ago when we decided that we were going to open camp. So, parents will drive into camp past the main gate. Brandon, if you go forward one more slide, and go all the way down the road into camp. And just as you get into camp there'll be a little bit of a turnaround, and you will meet a staff person there. Chris alluded to it a little bit before. Before campers even get out of the car, the staff will meet you at your car, and you will be asked a couple of health questions. They will be the same health questions each day. We want to make sure and ensure that maybe if you've taken a trip out of the county, or if you've gone away somewhere, that you've been safe and careful about the interactions that you had. It's very important that we keep camp going for the entire season. So even when you're not at camp, we ask you to please adhere to all of these regulations and guidelines, because it'll ensure that we keep camp going. So cars will pull up, staff will meet them, they'll be asked those quick questions, and we will do a temperature check of the camper. And then we've asked the camper to get out of the car, and then the staff will then lead them to where their group is. At pickup time, it'll be a very similar process. You will be asked to give ID, picture ID, to show that you are the right person to pick up that child, and then the child will be communicated to come to the car, and again, you will be off and running. Chris had mentioned if there is a temperature, and what we are being told is a temperature over 100.4. Anything over that, we are being told that we cannot take that child that day until the fever is reduced. If we can advance one slide. Camp Tapawingo, cars will pull into camp. It's right off of Pointer Rush Road there, past Mooney Bay. And the picture you're seeing there for families, you'll see a very light road. And that circles to the left there around those trees, and will create a little bit of a turnaround there. And again, the same practice will happen there. Parents will pull in, staff will meet and greet, ask the questions, temperature check, and then the camper will come and meet with the staff there and participate in the camp day. For the City Rec Center, if you could advance one slide, we have the parking lot. This is the main entrance of the rec center. Directly, if you were taking that photo, is the parking lot. And there will be signage that will show you which way to go in and which way to leave. And again, the same thing. There'll be a couple of spots where you can meet up with staff in your car. We do the same thing, questions, temperature check, and the camper will then join their group. Again, with all of the pickup times, we ask that you bring a photo ID with you. We are not going to release a camper that is not approved on our pickup list. So it's very important that you do that. Okay, if you can advance one more slide there. A couple of little odds and ends here. As Chris mentioned, our daily schedule is really focused on small group activities. And I guess we're upgrading. We have small group activities throughout through the day at camp. And if you think of camp as a clock, all groups will rotate in a clockwise routine so that groups don't necessarily pass each other. Again, we're trying to stop any kind of contagions or what have you. The camps, again, are small group activities, and creativity is of the utmost, and it's going to be great. The staff have been working really hard. Lunch and picnic tables. We want to ensure that each group will have designated picnic tables, and those tables will be cleaned after each use. The staff not only have sanitizing sprays, but there'll be a spray bottle at each picnic table so that they can clean off their tables after they eat lunch. Those picnic tables will also be areas where they can store their bags and keep them in a central location. If you're at the rec center, there will be different locations indoors where they would keep their bags. Chris mentioned swimming, both at Jericho and at Tapawingo. We remind you at Tapawingo, you need to have water shoes or old sneakers to be able to go into the water. Very important that you do there. At Jericho, it is a sand bottom, so that is not required. At the City Rec Activity Center, they will be doing water activities with hoses and that sort of thing. So while there is not a body of water, they will ensure that they have some good wet and wonderful activities. Our staff will be going through a training over the next 10 days, very intense training. We do this every year. Of course, this year we will add in the components of COVID and ways for staff to keep themselves safe, as well as ensuring that the kids are safe as well. As I mentioned before, it's so important that you have these conversations with your kids. We want them to know what to expect. Again, their staff are going to have masks on. They're used to seeing their smiling faces and laughing with them. They'll still be able to laugh, but they might be a little muffled. But we want you to have these conversations with them so that they know what to expect, and they're going to get right into it and have a great time. Let's advance one more. Chris, I don't know if you were talking about this or me. Okay. These are items to bring at camp, pretty standard items for you all to bring. Again, Tapawingo, please bring water shoes or old sneakers. We ask you to leave electronic devices at home. Toys, please leave them at home. Normally there might be an occasion where a kid might have a toy and be able to bring that out during normal years, but we don't want them to share those toys with others, and you know, in trying to stop any kind of a spread. Camp's not responsible for those items, so we really want you to make sure you check those bags. We know kids can be sometimes sneaky about bringing extra things to camp. So, but have these conversations with your kids. We're, of course, available for any questions, but if you have questions now, Brandon, I don't know if there was any questions in the chat room. If you want to let me know what the question is, and then either Chris or I can answer them.
Sure thing, Justin. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Chris so that we can all speak here. So the first question, I guess, is in regards to the swimming questions. Someone wanted to make sure that the algae blooms will be monitored at both sites throughout the summer.
Yeah, so it should be noted that all of our camps are mandated under the Department of Health. We do water testing. So all of the waterfront areas are kept to a certain standard. So all of those concerns would be handled during pre-camp visits and then during the summer visits as well.
Next question would be, what happens for drop-off and pickup if carpooling with other parents? Is there a form to fill out?
That's a great question. And I would say I don't know. But that would seem to be the case. We would need to have a permission slip for those families, and then be able to have who's ever driving them to camp listed as a pickup person. Chris, is there anything I'm missing on that?
No, I would agree with that. Yep.
Alrighty, next question. Will camp staff be screened for temperatures and health questions as well?
I can take that one. Yes, they will be. All of our staff will have temperature checks upon arrival at work each morning, and will be asked the same questions that we're asking of each of our campers who are participating in camp. So the answer to that is yes.
Alrighty. Next question. What is the plan for rainy days at Camp J?
Yes, we've talked a lot about rainy days. So it should be noted that Camp J's participant attendance has been cut in half. So normally we've had 200 kids at camp. This summer we've are only taking 100. So with the different areas that we have, we believe that we will be able to socially distance those groups from other groups. But in addition to that, we are also looking into some pop-up tents that will be in the back field so that some groups can be there as well. It should be noted, you may not have known this if you're a Jericho family, but when it rains, it doesn't necessarily mean that we go inside. So I think one of the other things to point out is that it's summer camp. Your kids might come home dirtier than they went to camp. And they might be just a little bit more tired. And to be honest, if that happens, then we've done our job well. But if it's torrential rain and obviously with lightning and it's not safe, we believe that we will have enough space to have them indoors for that time and socially distant from other groups. Tapawingo, not a problem with all of the facilities there. And of course, the rec center, we're not a problem there.
How many kids do you anticipate on having at each camp total?
So at Camp Jericho, as Justin just mentioned, sessions, well, 1 through 5, we'll have 100 kids total as our max, 10 groups of kids, or 10 groups of 10. At Camp Tapawingo, we're only operating sessions 1 through 4 there. And the max that we are planning for at the moment is 50, but potentially we do have the ability to have more children there if there is a need in the community for that. So that's something that we will continue to monitor and offer if we need to. And then for Plattsburgh, the city camps at the rec center, our WISE camp runs around 20 to 22 kids each season. Junior camp, I think, is around the 30, 35 mark as a max. And then our Quest camp is a max of 20 kids. So I'm not really good at doing math in my head, but we're at about.
Right now we have around 50. We could, if the need is there, have additional groups at the rec center. Again, because of the space and the field and the gym. But we'll take that as it comes and ensure that we're not obviously crowding any one area.
Will there be notification if there's a positive case, or how will things be handled in that instance?
Yeah, Chris, you want to take that?
Yeah, I believe that that's something that we want to share with families. We want you to know, especially if there were a child that were in your child's group, you would want to know because they have had some contact with each other. So we would still working through how that whole notification system will work, whether it would be phone calls or through our Remind app or an email. That piece we're still working on, but we definitely want to notify families if something is actually diagnosed, confirmed.
And of course, we'll be checking with the DOH, Department of Health, if that happens, and we'll follow their guidelines.
Where do we get some form of bug spray, or will that be, hold on, let me skip that question. Can you please, see. Will the camp counselor be able to help with applying sunscreen, and will it be applied often throughout the day?
Yeah, I can take that one. I mean, the children are, putting on their own sunscreen each day, but we do have the staff that are able to assist them with that. You're going to send the sunscreen that you prefer for your child. I have certain ones that I like to use for my kids, and we do kind of have checkpoints throughout the day. I remember discussing this last year at camp, that as they switch activities, they give the kids a verbal reminder of, hey, this is a good time. Let's go ahead and put some more sunscreen on for the day, and then they'll help the kids with that. So yes.
Brandon, I know we're coming up on time here. How many more questions do we have?
We have about 8.
Okay, let's see if we can answer them all now, and any ones we can't get to, we can certainly email those families directly.
I have a question here. I could probably take this one, but it says, does this information cover Camp Ampersand? Camp Ampersand will actually have its own video happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. So if you want to tune in tomorrow, it'll be all information geared towards Camp Ampersand. The next question, can we have permission slips emailed for added drop-off or pickup, as well as bug spray emailed?
Yes, yeah, we can get out those as well. You'll also be getting some waiver forms as well that will be emailed out. This is a normal practice for us, and obviously with everything going on, we just want to ensure that the families have all of that information before camp begins.
Will there be a reduction in the cost of camp since we'll be transporting the children ourselves?
At this time, there is not. We are funneling that funds into additional materials and supplies for this summer. So at this point, there is not.
Will medical staff be present at camp?
Yes, we have a health director for all of our camps that visits each of them. And we also have staff that are designated on site. They're called RTEs, it's just the abbreviation for it. They are typically counselors at camp, but they have had special training in health procedures to assist kids with if they have an injury or are not feeling well, they're designated to help our kids. For example, last season at Tapawingo, we had 3 of our counselors who were also designated health, they're called health designees as well.
Jericho, I mean.
Did I say, oh yeah, Jericho, sorry. And then I have Tapawingo on the brain. And then we will also have a couple at Camp Tapawingo as well. Yeah, we have those just in case.
What is the plan if a counselor is taken out due to COVID-19? Will the kids in their group still be able to attend, or will they be put with another counselor?
That would be one of those things that we would, and you can jump into if you want, Justin, but that would be one of those things that we would discuss directly with the Department of Health, what they are requiring or recommending as the response to that. So we will, anytime an issue health-wise or whatever would come up at camp, we have to let them know anyways, and they give us the guidance on how to handle that. So I would say if that happens, we will get back in touch with them and they'll let us know how we need to handle it. We have a really great relationship with them. We talk to them multiple times a week, sometimes a day at this point, just getting ready, and they're uber responsive, and they'll guide us in the right way.
Water stations at camp, will they be sanitized in between kids refilling their bottles?
Yeah, so there, like at Jericho, I know there's water fountains there. We're not using any water fountains. We're only using either sinks or filling stations. So of course those areas would be clean throughout the day as well. But that's why we want everybody to bring refillable water bottles. So any kind of water fountain where you would press the button and sip on the water, those will not be active at any of the locations. So bring that water bottle and use that throughout the day.
What kind of time frame do you anticipate for check-ins, considering the time it takes for health questions and temperature checks?
This is a very quick process. And clearly, we ask you to be patient with us the first couple of days, because there's going to be little things that we need to tweak. But the questions, there's 4 questions. I think there's 3 or 4 questions. And the temperature check, it shouldn't take more than 30 seconds. And then you guys are right on your way. If there is need for further conversation, then we would have an area where you can bring your car over to the side and meet up with the staff to ask them additional questions. Of course, they're all available by phone or email as well.
What time do we drop off campers at Camp J, and will overnight be done this year?
So we will not be having any overnights this year. It was a tough decision to make, but we believe it's the right one. And time for drop-off, Chris, I don't have that in front of me.
It would be at the start of camp. So camp begins at 8:15. You know, you can start dropping off a few minutes before that. So, and you know, as an addition to that too, is we can check multiple cars at a time. So don't think of it as just it's one car at a time and I'm going to be slowed down. We're going to have several staff who can check, you know, one's at this car, one's at that car. And by the time they get up here, they don't need to be checked because they already have and they're moving on. So it's going to be good.
Can, I guess, staff administer medication in an instance required for allergy medications or anything like that?
So at our camps, we do not administer medication, but there are some kids who at Camp Jericho that can do self-administration, and then our health designee staff are there to assist them in, you know, documenting the medication that was taken, but we do not administer medication on our own as staff at our locations.
Food allergies. Will notification be sent out to safeguard kids with specific allergies?
So right now, our health director for our camps is reviewing all of them, actually started today, reviewing all of the registration forms, immunizations for each of our camps. And he will be reaching out to any families who have any health concerns as far as a food allergy, a disability, a medical allergy, whatever that would be, to make sure that we have all those questions answered before we go into camp, and that our staff are prepared. He's reviewing those now, and he'll reach out to families as needed.
For those that want to go get access to the Remind app, how does someone get access to that?
Yes, so Justin's not answering any questions now. No, so the Remind app is a great way to communicate with our families and gets out some quick messaging. That's how I kind of interact with teachers at my kids' schools as well, although I'm glad school is over. Anyways, with that, when folks registered for camp, there was a line on the registration form that asked if you would be willing to let us send you messaging through Remind app, if you were kind of giving us that authorization. And then after that question, if you said yes, you then would have put your phone number or your email address, letting us know which one to send the invite to. Those invites have not gone out just yet. That will be probably next week that those go out. We're compiling that list and starting that with one of our staff to send out those invites to everyone. But that's how we would have gotten your information. If you are concerned that you might not have checked that box, just send us an email and we will double check and make sure that it is on there. You just need to indicate your name, your child's name, and which account we're sending it to. Is it an email address or a phone number that it would be texting to?
Okay. Will there be a family night at any of the camps? And, oh, well, I'll leave you at that one.
As of right now, we would have to say no. We are going to meet with our staff, and if there is a way that we can do it safely, we'll certainly let our families know. But again, if regulations change throughout the summer, I know now, groups of 25 can meet, but if you've been up to Camp J for a family night, there's certainly a lot more than that. So as of right now, it's no, but if it does change, we'll certainly communicate that with you.
Alrighty, last question. Camp Tapawingo will have at least 10 participants at each session?
You said at least 10 participants? Yes.
Or will have 10 cap?
For the group sizes, is that what it means, Brandon? Yeah, the max for any group there at Camp Tapawingo or any of our camps is a group of 10. We will not go over that as far as children. It will never go over 10.
There's 5 groups, right? There's 50 total, right? At Jericho, there's 100, so there'll be 10 groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all.
Well, great. Thank you all so much for participating. If you have any questions beyond today, you can certainly call us here at the Y. You can email sbrown@plattsburghyMCA.org. That's Sonia Brown, our membership director. And again, this will be is being recorded, and it'll be out there to share with other families. We so look forward to seeing your kids this summer, and look forward to seeing you back here at the Y. Tentatively, we are opening our facilities on the 26th of this month. More information to come on that. But have a great night, everybody, and thanks again.